Aloha, Ocean here, reporting from Hawaii. And before I get going, prepping some pineapples, tops to replant, and some kalo roots to steam, I thought I would lay out a picture of a movie, just an outline, and just imagine you're watching this movie with me in real time. Okay, let's say there's a world, and there's a country that has very powerful and has lots of money. And there is an Institute of Health. And the head of the Institute of Health is a man named Fauci. And Fauci funded this research to make viruses more pathogenic and more lethal to humans. And he couldn't do it in America, so he decided to do it in China, an institute called Wuhan. And he funded EcoHealth Alliance to do gain-of-function research on this one type of coronavirus that's called, and that to see, like, mess around with, like, if bats can transmit it easier or faster. And so he funded, through the National Institute of Health of this big country, money to another country to research this and make it more deadly to humans. And then let's say it escapes, and Fauci is like the head of the entire thing. And then he has a group of scientists get together and they're discussing in secret, like, what is the cause and all this. And most of them come to the conclusion, this looks like a lab leak because it doesn't look like it could naturally escape into the environment. The way that it is structured fundamentally couldn't be done in nature. So then the next day, they come out, these scientists globally, the head of this whole virus, and they say, this cannot be a lab leak. This was probably released from a wet market somewhere in China. And then, not only that, he's the face of it. So he's on TV day and night, saying many, many, many times, it cannot be a lab leak. Even though records were released back then, if you were watching, and now saying they thought it was a lab leak back then and they lied to the American public or the world at large. Then this man told us to do a whole bunch of stuff as the face of it, who probably created it and it accidentally or intentionally escaped. And he's the one leading us on how to save ourselves from it. The media starts putting the death notes, like death totals every single day, to make us more and more and more afraid. This is shattering social cohesion, which is pitting neighbor against neighbor, friend against friend, family against family. If you didn't go along with it, like someone I know very close to me, I was told I should die multiple times by my friends and family if I didn't get the vaccine. That if I go to a hospital bed, I should die rather than take up a space in the thing. We gave vaccines to our children, which had zero risk at all of any major effects of this virus, but could have effects of a vaccine that was rushed and got emergency use authorization to push it out, but you couldn't get emergency use authorization if there was any other drug or over-the-counter thing that could help with the symptoms. So what they also did was suppress all symptoms, all other possible remedies. And any scientists that were researching if there was any other possible thing that could help people not die or suffer from this, new virus that's spreading around, they were blacklisted, they lost their license, they were publicly shamed and ridiculed, they lost all their patients, and there was mass censorship, Orwellian-style censorship, of anyone that spoke up against it, of any scientist who was trying other remedies, doctors, scientists, anyone who went against the government orthodoxy, immediately censored. Me, just some random person, was kicked off Facebook multiple times for multiple weeks and months just for saying anything different than the dogma that was being shoveled in our mouth all the time. Slowly but surely, the powers that be stripped away all of our constitutional rights, and no one blinked an eye. So like, let's say in this totalitarian and authoritarian regime took over during this time of this whole situation that's unfolding in this movie. And systematically, we lost our freedom of religion. We lost our freedom of assembly. We lost our freedom of speech with Orwellian censorship. We lost our freedom of movement and the freedom to travel, along with various other things like a loss of a tremendous amount of small businesses, a massive transfer of wealth up to the top, over 500 new billionaires. And what do you think it did to our children when human facial expression is like the most way that children can understand the world? They can see if we're angry, they can see if we're upset, they can see if we're happy. And we put masks on our faces, and a whole generation of kids literally couldn't see our faces. Social distancing, which is loss of human connection. Human connection is the most important thing for the psyche of any individual, and we locked ourselves away for like over a year. We couldn't go to parks. I got out at a public park to go walk alone in the woods, and one police officer was in the parking lot and said he'll arrest me if I go walk in the woods. That is healthy. Walking in the woods, healthy. Being stuck indoors alone is the most horrible thing you can do to the psyche of a human being ever. And that's what we were recommended. Not go outside and enjoy nature where there's open air moving through. All of the logical things were topsy-turvy. And anyone who spoke up about it got immediately criticized, beaten down by public opinion, by their friends and family, because we had a media that was just pitting us against each other. Yeah. I mean, that would be a crazy movie. And I would argue that movie's already been created. I don't know if you've ever seen V for Vendetta, but if you haven't, highly suggest you watch V for Vendetta. It's a really good movie. Really, really beautiful movie. Anyways, and then imagine that person, Ouchie, when leaving, after doing all that he did, possibly being the villain that created the thing, and then also the hero that saved us from the thing, which is like every movie ever with supervillains and all that. Imagine the president, his last act leaving office was giving that person the largest pardon ever given to anyone ever. A lifetime pardon from all wrongdoings. Imagine that if you actually read the book, The Real Anthony Fauci, which details in detail also what he did with the AIDS epidemic, where there was doctors that were coming up with cures to help people with AIDS, and those people were suppressed while they pushed vaccines and other, he pushed certain drugs that didn't work well, and the doctors and patients said it didn't work well, and shamed and put down anyone who tried anything different with AIDS. He did the same exact thing with AIDS, basically. Lots of people died and suffered, and where am I going with this? Lots of people died and suffered. Sorry, I'm just with Tulsi Gabbard releasing documents, which were already out, if you were looking, basically saying that they knew it was a lab leak, and then over and over and over and over and over again, we were told it could not be a lab leak. I mean, I think personally, people should very much be criminally looked at. Everything should be criminally looked at. And personally, I think if found guilty, Ouchie should go to jail for a long, long, long time. And really have to face what he's done to both all the people that suffered of AIDS while he made royalties on the drugs that he helped push out. I mean, that is just on another level. So, anyways, this is stuff that I knew the whole time, if you looked. But people didn't want to look, because what they do is they put fear in your mind. When your mind is full of fear, you can't think properly anymore. That is the number one way to mass control people, mind control people, is fear. So that entire experiment was, hey, can we unleash more authoritarianism and totalitarianism with mass surveillance, with censorship, with making people lose their businesses, with transferring wealth, and get away with it? And the answer was absolutely. And that deeply concerns me. Why no one saw it, no one spoke up, no one really, and the people that did, like me, were just censored and removed off social media. So I hope in the future, stay calm. Don't let fear, if you see them trying to get you afraid, do your practices to not get afraid and think with a clear mind. Do research and don't just believe everything the media tells you. All right, well, have a lovely day.